Atticus, Letitia, Ruby, and Montrose are desperate to help Diana with her decrepit arm. Atticus suggests contacting Christina, hoping she'll help in exchange for Titus's pages. Letitia admits she's already given Christina the negatives of the pages for an invulnerability spell, which frustrates Montrose and he about to beat her ass. Ruby agrees to use her va-JJ to persuade Christina to assist them. Christina arrives and explains that without the complete book of names, only Lancaster can lift the curse. But Ruby tells her that Lancaster is dead. Christina then offers a temporary restoration spell to reset Diana's curse, but warns it won't cure her completely. She agrees to help if Atticus travels with her to Ardom on the autumnal equinox. Christina instructs the group to draw glyphs around the house and lower Diana's temperature. She also mentions needing the blood of Diana's closest relative, but Hippolyta is missing. Montrose is reluctant to take on the task. At the Order of Ancient Dawn headquarters, Captain Lancaster is in agony due to his grafting surgery, where his flesh is sewn into the torso of a black man. His body is falling apart and causing him intense pain. Two members of the Order try to help, but are puzzled as to why their usual spell isn't working this time. They're also concerned since finding and ending another black man to repeat the procedure would be nearly impossible to conceal at this point. That's what y'all ugly-ass hoes get. Their desperate attempts are interrupted when William Braithwaite sexily enters, grinning widely. The officers are shocked, believing William to be dead. He calmly retrieves a stone from Lancaster's desk, one that Ruby had secretly placed there before. Lancaster, realizing William isn't who he appears to be, begs for help, but Christina, in William's form, watches with satisfaction as Lancaster, responsible for her lover's death, slowly bleeds out. Montrose tells Atticus that he might be Diana's closest blood relative, possibly George's son. Atticus is initially angered by the idea that his mother might have been unfaithful to Montrose. Montrose explains the deep bond they formed surviving the Tulsa Massacre and how George was like a father to Atticus. Before things escalate, Letitia arrives with news that Christina has returned to perform the spell. As they prepare to leave, Hippolyta suddenly appears, asking what happened to her daughter while she was busy dancing in Paris. Hippolyta joins the group, where Diana's appearance has turned into a horrifying version of her demonic attackers. Christina cuts Hippolyta's hand and uses her blood to perform the spell. Diana wakes up, screaming in pain as maggots and flies erupt from her arm before it slowly returns to normal. After the ritual, Ruby leaves with Christina. Letitia follows them outside, urging Ruby not to trust Christina. Ruby argues that Christina saved Diana, revived Letitia, and made her invulnerable. She points out that Letitia is siding with Montrose, who nearly attacked her earlier. Letitia counters by expressing concern that if Atticus goes to Ardom with Christina willingly, her spell might kill him. Ruby is visibly unsettled but remains silent, ultimately getting into Christina's car and piecing the fuck out of there. Inside the shop, Hippolyta loads Diana into her car and plans to use the time machine at the observatory to create a portal to Tulsa before the destruction of the Book of Names. It would allow them to permanently remove the curse. Despite Montrose's doubts, Hippolyta insists that her 200 years in an alternate universe gave her the knowledge needed to save Diana and orders everyone to get their asses in her car. At Christina's place, Ruby asks about Dell, the identity she took after taking the potion, giving her the full vitiligo experience. Christina explains that Dell was a groundskeeper at her late father's estate and was put into a coma by Letitia slapping her Michael Jackson-looking ass. Ruby then questions if Christina helped Diana to get to Atticus, to which Christina admits it was partly true, but also because Ruby asked her to. Christina confirms that Atticus's blood is essential for her immortality spell. Ruby makes Christina promise not to harm Letitia, then turns off Dell's life support, revealing her own desire to be white and a redhead. Christina, pleased by Ruby's complete alignment with her plans, responds with a cunning smile. I bet them two did some scissoring right after. Hippolyta, Atticus, Letitia, and Montrose arrive at an observatory in Kentucky. Montrose, fearful of returning to Tulsa, drinks Bacardi 151 to numb his fear. Atticus helps Hippolyta repair the time machine, while Montrose helps Letitia with Diana, who is still asleep. Letitia tries to explain her choice to accept Christina's spell, but Montrose reveals he knows she's pregnant and that Atticus is aware he'll die during Christina's spell. This adds to Letitia's guilt and anxiety about their unborn child. Hippolyta activates the machine using the glyphs on her wrists and asks Montrose for a childhood photo to set the destination to Tulsa in 1921. She warns them not to alter history and to resolve their shit before opening the portal. Atticus and Letitia jump through first, followed by a hesitant Montrose, and they arrive in a 1921 Tulsa hotel room. Montrose sees Black Wall Street thriving, while Atticus hears girls discussing their canceled prom at Booker T. Washington High School, which was shut down moments before the massacre. He realizes it was the night his mother's home and the Book of Names were destroyed. They locate Montrose and Dora's homes, planning to use Letitia as a diversion while Atticus sneaks in. Their plan is interrupted when young Montrose is thrown outside and beaten by his father Verton for trying on George's prom jacket, and Verton suspects Montrose to be gay. Montrose explains he deserved it, revealing his pain to Atticus. Dora intervenes to stop Verton, with George eventually supporting her. As the prom is canceled, Dora and George search for Montrose. Letitia and Atticus find Dora's house, but Montrose is missing. Atticus assumes Montrose is heading to the park where he and George were attacked, a risky move that could alter history. Letitia stays to retrieve the Book of Names, but is confronted by armed pale losers. Thanks to Christina's invulnerability spell, she survives and is rescued by Verton and Gilbert, who take her to Dora's home. Letitia learns of the town's escalating violence and remains silent to avoid changing history. But the grandmother looking at her, sussy especially with them Jordans. Atticus finds Montrose at the park, where he witnesses his boyfriend Thomas die. Montrose cannot intervene, but explains that saving Thomas won't change anything important. They have their moment, and Atticus seems more supportive with his father's sexuality. In Dora's home, a scared sister confides in Letitia about a recent argument with Dora. Letitia reassures her, then begins searching for the Book of Names. Atticus's grandmother, Hattie, confronts Letitia with a gun. Letitia explains her connection to Atticus and shows Hattie the birthmark to prove her story. Hattie, realizing it might be her last act, gives Letitia the Book of Names and stays behind as the house catches fire from a Molotov cocktail. Letitia stays with Hattie, comforting her as she dies in the flames. Back at the park, Atticus and Montrose witness the brutal attack on Thomas. They realize that Atticus was part of the timeline to intervene. So Atticus takes a baseball bat and fights off the attackers, saving his family members from harm. They return to the hotel room, only to find the portal malfunctioning. Atticus jumps through and finds Hippolyta struggling to keep the portal open. Letitia walks very slowly towards the portal. Like, hurry the fuck up, girl. Shit's burning down. In the present, Hippolyta's condition deteriorates as she keeps the portal open, her appearance resembling the hero from her daughter's comics or that of a liberal white woman. As Hippolyta nears collapse, Montrose and Letitia return. Letitia, sorrowful over the events leading to her lover's death, watches as they all reunite. Atticus, Letitia, Hippolyta, and Montrose rush Diana home to use a spell from the Book of Names as she deteriorates. Atticus reads the spell in the ancient language of Ardom, causing the Book of Names to open to a page with a birthmark matching Atticus. Atticus and Letitia fall unconscious and enter a dreamlike realm. Letitia finds herself in a red-tinted version of Dora's home from before it burned down, where Hattie appears. Hattie explains that Letitia and Atticus must learn to use the book's power to protect their unborn child. She reveals the Red Realm was created by Hannah, who mistakenly thought the book was hell. Hannah bound the book to protect her descendants from its pain. Hattie urges Letitia to use the book's power for her family's sake. Atticus is in a red-tinted version of his recurring dream, chasing Hannah through the burning suns of Ardom Lodge. Hannah tells him the answer is in his blood and explains that she hid their bloodline with a spell, which is why Atticus has the birthmark. The flames represent her rage, which she learned to control. Hannah says magic is a gift to be passed on, not feared. Atticus admits he unbound the Book of Names to save his cousin, and Hannah assures him he will save them all. A bright light transports Atticus to a red-tinted version of his childhood home, where he sees his mother. Dora embraces him, and Atticus admits his fear of dying, which will happen if he follows Hannah's instructions. Dora reassures him that although the path may be frightening, it is part of his destiny. She reminds him that he was shaped by both Montrose and George, and his sacrifice will make a difference for his loved ones. Dora leads Atticus to the room where Hattie is teaching Letitia spells from the Book of Names. They join Hattie and Letitia in a circle around Diana's bed. As Hattie recites from the Book of Names, Diana's curse is transferred to the Red Realm and vanishes. In the real world, Atticus and Letitia wake up to find Diana's condition has improved, but she is still traumatized and screams when she sees her mangled arm. Damn, I'd be horrified too if my arms aged that much. Letitia uses Hattie's teachings to address Diana's injuries, while Atticus explains to Montrose that a spell requires a physical connection between him, Titus, and Christina. Montrose is concerned, especially since the book predicts Atticus will die at Christina's hands during her spell ceremony. Atticus insists that the future in the book can change, but Letitia's expression suggests otherwise. Montrose urges them to leave, saying that his birthmark will hide them from Christina. Atticus argues that evil will always find them, and they must confront it using their family's power. Atticus and Letitia head to the Winthrop house to use its underground portal to reach the Braithwaite Vault in Boston, they being cute AF in the elevator. After calming the monster, they enter the vault, pour salt in a binding circle, and draw glyphs with Atticus's blood. They chant a spell in the language of Ardom, summoning Titus Braithwaite. Titus, angry and confused, questions why he is summoned. Hannah explains it is to seek revenge for attempting to sacrifice her child. Titus condemns her for using his magic, and Atticus tries to attack him but is thrown aside. Letitia's attack also fails as Titus teleports to the middle of a street where he is almost hit by Christina and Ruby. Christina crashes into a phone pole and gets yeeted but is unharmed. Recognizing Titus, Christina listens as he reveals that Atticus and Letitia have the Book of Names before he is teleported back to the vault. Back in the vault, Hattie and Dora join Atticus and Letitia, casting a spell to bind Titus to the circle. Atticus attacks and injures Titus before tearing a large piece of flesh from him. They then cast a spell to send Titus' spirit away and reluctantly cast another spell to let Hannah, Hattie, and Dora's spirits dissipate. In Chicago, Diana is angry and traumatized, and Hippolyta tries to explain her actions. Diana feels abandoned, even though Hippolyta intended to return. Letitia and Montrose prepare for their trip to Ardom. Letitia suggests asking Ruby for a piece of Christina's flesh for the spell, which Montrose opposes. Atticus points out that they need to amplify their intention, but can't summon their ancestors again. Hippolyta offers to help, but their moment of unity is interrupted when Christina arrives unexpectedly. She tries to justify sacrificing Atticus as a necessary part of her spell to become immortal, offering to find another way if Atticus gives her the Book of Names. When Atticus refuses, Christina removes Letitia's invulnerability and leaves. Atticus asks Gia to meet him for dinner, where he expresses his regret for his previous words and acknowledges their past relationship. Gia reveals her fears of being alone after losing loved ones, and Atticus reassures her that love never truly disappears. He reminds her that they always have a choice to be either monsters or heroes. The next day, Letitia and Ruby visit their mother's grave. Letitia admits she didn't attend the funeral because she was in jail and shares that family is about sacrifice and protection, not just blood. Letitia asks Ruby for Christina's flesh to defeat her. Ruby feels Letitia only values her as family when needed. Letitia insists there is more Ruby needs to know. Diana scratches out the faces of her friend's killers from a newspaper article, while Hippolyta slides a comic featuring Orinthia Blue under her door. Hippolyta reveals she drew it with skills learned from Afua Richardson. She plans to teach Diana these skills. Diana, feeling her drawing arm is useless, is encouraged by Hippolyta to see her hardship as a small part of her life's journey. Christina discusses her spell process with Ruby, revealing a vial of her blood, hair, and nails. Ruby considers taking it to help Letitia and Atticus. Christina doesn't suspect Ruby's inner conflict and worries about the spell's potential failure. Ruby reassures Christina that her spell will work and shares a kiss with her. Atticus is baptized in church at Letitia's request. He is uneasy, seeing it as a grim echo of his visions and fearing death before his child is born. Letitia reassures him that faith is within them, and by believing in God, Atticus also has faith in their future. On the day of the trip to Ardom, Atticus looks at his family with pride. Ruby arrives with a vial of Christina's flesh, and they all set off for Ardom. As they travel, they sing along to a song, momentarily forgetting their fears. I guess Gia invited to the cookout now. Their arrival in Ardom feels even darker as Montrose sets a protective salt circle around the car where Diana will stay. Atticus swallows a piece of Titus in the vial of Christina's flesh, then heads to the ruins of the Sons of Ardom Lodge. He is quickly surrounded and tied to an altar by Ardom citizens. Montrose, Hippolyta, and Gia are overpowered and captured, while Letitia and Ruby go to the stone tower to perform protection spells. Letitia discovers Ruby is actually Christina in disguise, and they fight. Christina, enhanced by magic, defeats Letitia and throws her from the tower. On the bridge, Montrose, Hippolyta, and Gia are taken to the altar where Atticus is bound. Diana, reading George Freeman's future copy of Lovecraft Country, is attacked by a Shoggoth, but the monster comes to her rescue. Christina begins the spell, slicing Atticus's arms and bathing in his blood. As the moon reaches its peak, Atticus's life and power transfer to Christina. Letitia awakens with the mark of Cain and rushes to the altar. Atticus, dying, smiles at Letitia and their unborn child before losing consciousness. Letitia runs Christina through with an enchanted sword while chanting Hannah's spell. Christina laughs, believing it's too late, as the potion didn't include her blood. Hippolyta realizes that the spell can work if Christina and Atticus are connected. Gia steps into the shadows and uses her tails to wrap around Atticus and Christina. Gia experiences visions of Atticus and Christina's final day. Atticus's memories are filled with warmth, while Christina's include her betrayal and violence. As Gia screams and Letitia chants, the shadows explode. Christina finds herself trapped and powerless. Letitia tells her that magic now belongs to them, and no white person can wield it. Montrose tries to awaken Atticus, who has died. Hippolyta gives him a letter from Atticus, asking for forgiveness and urging him to teach his son George to embrace life and love. Montrose, Letitia, Gia, and Hippolyta carry Atticus' body out of Ardom. Diana and the monster confront Christina, who is still trapped. Diana, with her new robotic arm, ends Christina's life by crushing her throat. Diana looks triumphantly at her guardian hellhound, who roars into the night. That's the end of this series. The Tulsa episode was definitely peak. Such a good episode, but the finale was lacking, and sadly it never gets a second season. You can read the books though. What did y'all think of this TV show, and what should we cover next?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.